Good evening, everyone. We will give everyone just a second to get in and then we will get started.
Great to see everyone.
Yes, absolutely. My name is Jamie Womack Williams. I'm the State Education's Issues Director for Texas A&T's Bridges Institute for Professional Development. This evening, we have Rashida Williams, who is an award-winning mentor, communications consultant, and author of Be Empowered, How to Live Above and Beyond Life's Drama, a guidebook and journal written for and inspired by girls. She is the founder and chief empowering officer for Empowered Flower Girl and a staunch youth advocate. You can find her on social media platforms on both Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And also you can find the Bridges Institute for Professional Development on Twitter and Facebook. So please like us so that you can find out about the upcoming sessions. This month, January, is mentoring month. And so we have Rashida here to talk to us about how we can mentor young women in today's society. So Rashida, I am going to turn it over to you.
Wonderful. So thank you very much, Jamie, for inviting me and welcoming Empowered Flower Girl. I am just really excited for a day like this, Inauguration Day, as well as it's Woman Crush Wednesday. So I believe that a lot of us are crushing on history that is being made today. So I am glad that so many of you would take out time in your evening to join us for mentoring girls and inspiring sisterhood in the age of bad girls, housewives, and frenemies. So I know I said a mouthful there, so I'll be explaining to you a little bit further momentarily about what we're going to cover today. But I would first like to welcome everyone. And again, thank you for this opportunity to present on a topic that I'm very passionate about as a mentor and as someone who is a girl advocate. So before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping notes. For those of you who have your cameras on, that is wonderful. I always love to see your faces. You are not obligated to turn on your camera, so that's fine if you do not. However, when you are going to be making a comment or if you are going to be engaging with us, we just ask that you make sure that you unmute yourself or one of us will work to unmute you so you can be heard. But we definitely encourage engagement. If you have questions, there is a chat there. So make sure that you utilize the chat, but also feel free to, again, if you have questions or commentary, to go ahead and unmute yourself. That's perfectly fine. Again, we want to engage with you. Momentarily, I will be sharing my screen because there is some content that I do definitely want to go over, but there will be time for discussion and interaction. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just check the chat just to see. Yeah, and Hannah, thank you so much for your assistance today with all of the tech and helping us. If there's any issues or challenges, or if anyone can't hear me at any time, just feel free to shout or make a note there. I will be monitoring the chat as well. So again, welcome to Mentoring Girls and Inspiring Sisterhood in the age of bad girls, housewives, and frenemies. I'm going to go ahead and get started sharing my screen here so we can delve into today's content. So today, as you can imagine, is all about how we as women, as youth advocates, can help our girls, help their positive development. These are interesting times for all of us, and our girls now more than ever can definitely use positive role models, allies, advocates, and supporters. And that's what we will be discussing today. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to stop my video so we can just make sure that we're focused here on the content. And again, if you do have questions at any time, feel free to raise your hands. So to go over the agenda and what we will be exploring today, we're going to discuss how we can support girls' positive development, of course, But we're also going to talk about how popular media is shaping girls' relationship realities. In particular, I'm talking reality TV and, of course, social media, right? They're actually kind of contributing to a lot of the issues and challenges that girls may be facing. However, there are plenty of opportunities for our girls to make a difference, okay, for them to engage with one another, but to also have positive, cordial relationships. And there are ways for us as women to be the change for 21st century girls. As mentioned, January is National Mentoring Month, and I'm definitely excited about National Mentoring Month because with Empowered Flower Girl, we want to help young people transform the way they relate to one another. And a lot of the work that we do is to promote the value of mentoring and the importance of mentoring as a way to make a difference and make an impact in the lives of girls and young women. Some people ask us, well, do you have programs for boys? And the answer to that is yes, we do offer co-ed programs, but a lot of our programming focuses on girls and young women. And I'll explain a little bit more momentarily why that is so. Now, I am passionate about mentoring. I actually started mentoring back when I was a college student, and I was experiencing some grief and loss issues, which many of us have throughout our lives. But at that time, it was a trying time for me in college, and I wanted to do something to take the focus off of myself. You ever have that in life where you are just consumed with sometimes pain from losing those that you may love? But I didn't want to make excuses for not engaging and going out there to make a difference. I saw an ad in the paper for an organization that was seeking mentors for girls. And I decided, why not? I'm going to try this. And, it's been history since then. I have been a mentor for over 20 years, and I currently work as a mentoring consultant here in the state of Michigan. So for those of you who don't know, I do reside here in Michigan, but I work with organizations throughout the Midwest and across the country and even globally as of recent. So mentoring is definitely a passion for me, but also Empowered Flower Girl, being the Chief Empowering Officer for that social enterprise, which I launched actually in 2010. Last year, we celebrated 10 years of service to the community. So that was very exciting. And throughout my work, I have definitely made it a mission, a personal mission, to help youth and youth advocates to live above life's drama, like the drama that I had experienced as a young person, to make a powerful difference in the world. I believe that we all have the power to change the world. But enough about me. Okay, I definitely want to get to know you a little bit better. So I would love for you to share. You could share what inspired you to sign up for today's webinar. But also, I would like to know, what's your experience working with girls or young women? And if you could, you could state your name. If you could do that for us, state your name and where you're from. So right now, I'm going to stop sharing the screen because I want to see you all. If you all don't mind, those of you who aren't shy or who don't mind sharing your screen, if you can share your screen when you're commenting. If you, again, you're not obligated to, we would love for you to, but it is not necessary. So if you would like to share, again, just let us know. How did you, or what inspired you to join today, but also your experience working with girls and young women.
I don't mind going. My name is Michelle Reynolds. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. I am an administrator at a Title I school. Uh, my experience is I get students a lot of times when they're not at their best. So probably my biggest issues are just that girls not interacting with other girls. Um, so that's me.
Great, thank you for that. And I will be taking notes here and there So don't mind me, I'm paying attention, but I just may be jotting down a couple notes here and there. So thank you for sharing. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. I'm not going to share my picture though today.
No worries.
I'm Tina Williams. I live in Northern Virginia, and I am originally from Flint, Michigan. I'm a school counselor by practice. So whenever I see opportunities like this, I'm always interested and willing to participate.
Okay, wonderful. Great. Yeah, so you're from Flint, Michigan, so you're used to used to the cold and the snow. Right now where I am, it's about 30 degrees, and I heard that in certain parts of the state there was snow. So my heart goes out to you all for that snow. But thank you for sharing. Time for a few more. So if a couple more of you want to share, that would be great.
Go. My name is Christina Huff. I am in Texas. I teach science in a high school, and I'm always trying to encourage more girls to attend the higher level science classes, because normally you don't have to, but I'm trying to get them in there.
Great, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, getting more girls involved in STEM education is very important. And I love that there are so many support programs and supplemental education programs, after school programs focused on encouraging girls in those fields. So thank you. Anyone else?
I'll share. I'm Latanya Rudolph. I'm from
Can you
Houston.
hear me?
Yes, Latanya? Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm a school counselor at the junior high level. Currently, I work with the youth. I've started working with the youth with my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta, and I have been toying with the idea of coming up with a girls youth mentoring group here in the city.
Excellent. Yes, that is what I love to hear. So definitely stick around, because I have some information on that and opportunities for women to get involved even further with girls. So thank you for that. All right. Anyone else want to share? We got time for maybe one more person. Anyone?
Can
Hello.
you hear me? Can
Yes,
you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
Yes. Can you not hear us?
Okay, my name is Winnie Rose.
Yes, we can hear you.
I can't, okay. Okay, my name is Winnie Rose, and I work for Middle School here in Lone, Texas. And I also have office aides, which are young girls, and I try to mentor to them. And I also been working for like 15 years as a mentor with the Longview Mentor Program for the city with young girls.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. I love working with middle school students. Some people like to run away or shy away from middle school students. They get a little intimidated. So it's great to hear so many of you who work with middle school students. So thank you again. Thank you everyone for joining us. And in the chat, I see someone said sisterhood should always be celebrated and supported. Yes, I definitely agree. And then Charlene, she joined us and says that she works with Austin Community College. And prior to that, Charlene also worked with middle school. So great, lots of middle school represented here as well. I love to hear that. So we're going to go back to the presentation. All right, so thank you all for sharing. So hearing from you is great, because I always like to know my audience, right? And it's wonderful to see that so many people are working with girls and have served as mentors, or those who aspire to work with girls in that capacity. And we can be the change for girls in several ways, right? Those in our families, but also those that we work with in our schools and communities. And people often ask me, Rashida, why do you focus on girls? And then there are several reasons, not just because I myself am a girl or identify as female, right? But research has shown that girls are more likely to be engaged on social media. And unfortunately, because of that, many are experiencing online harassment at alarming rates. And I'll be sharing information from a recent report from Plan International about the rate of online harassment that girls have been facing. But also girls in the 21st century, they face many challenges from cyberbullying to societal pressure. Okay, so many of us may have experienced some of those societal pressures, peer pressures, but for some of us who were born before the digital age, right, before social media became popular, we didn't have those sorts of challenges. We may have only had to experience our most embarrassing and mortifying moments in our school or our community. Now, young people, they have a lot of private information, and many of them have their lives turned upside down by information that is shared on the internet, information that is shared internationally. And so they face some unprecedented challenges that many of us may have never imagined. But also there's hope, because I believe that girls are the key to worldwide transformation, girls and women. And they definitely have opportunities to thrive. And I believe that we as women play a vital and necessary role in helping to support their positive development. So I, again, commend all of you who work as educators, those of you who are parents, many of you are raising girls, or also those of us who may not be biological parents, but work with girls on an everyday basis. There's a lot that we can do to support them. And, don't just take my word for it, of course. In fact, the United Nations definitely recognizes the importance of supporting girls and young women. In fact, of their 17 sustainable global goals, gender equity, or gender equality, I should say, is the 5th global goal. Okay, so even the UN is committed to gender equality. So it's vitally important, the work that we're doing. So now I just want to take an opportunity to kind of go back down memory lane, okay? So this is a fun activity that I'd like to do. I want us to remember the time when things may have been a little more simple, right? So for those of you who have your workbooks, I believe the workbooks were sent to you. If you don't have them, that's fine. But this activity can be found on page 3. So some of you may have already filled in the workbook, but if not, you can do this as we go along. But I wanted to find out from you, what was your favorite TV show as a kid, or what female group of friends did you admire? And what were some of the qualities about them that they had that were admirable to you? Okay, so I want us to take some time to discuss this. All right, so again, the questions are, what was your favorite TV show as a kid, or what group of female friends, okay, on camera, your favorite TV show or program did you admire, and what qualities did they have that were admirable to you? So if anyone wants to share, please feel free to do so. Again, we definitely encourage engagement. So, and I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. So feel free, anyone who wants to jump in.
I was just gonna say that Full House was one of my favorite shows growing up, and the friendship, the dynamic between DJ and Kimmy Gibbler, because Kimmy was so weird and DJ was just so typical, I guess, and she was just very accepting, and that to me is what friendship is, and it's kind of what girl power is. So yeah.
Awesome, I love that. Okay, who else? Not that many of us watched TV growing up. Everyone.
Well, that's not true in my part. That was one of the most influential TV shows when I was a kid. Now I almost hate to say it. It was the Cosby Show. It was the first time I got to see people of color successful. It was funny, you know. And now, unfortunately, it's a little bit marred. It has a little stain. It's tainted, I guess is the word for me now. But still, the message was still there as a kid, you know, not seeing the traditional, what you would always see back in the 80s on television.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like the top TV moms, Claire Huxtable is always among them, among
Love
the top
her.
5.
Thank you for bringing that up because I loved Claire. Rudy was always my favorite for one-liners, but yes, you're right. There's definitely a lot of positive to focus on in that show. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. For sure. I love the Cosby Show as well. Who else? Who else had a favorite TV show or a set of friends, on-camera friends that they loved or admired growing up? Okay, someone had, okay, yeah, the Cosby Show. I'm looking in the chat here, the Cosby Show. Someone said Star Trek, The Next Generation. Okay, cool.
I had A Different World was another show that I appreciated and enjoyed. Folks looked like me. They were in college. They were doing great things. And so I had something to look forward to. So that was really a good place for me. And then I had mentioned the Cosby Show as well, because you had an intact family, right? And my parents, my parents have been together well over 45 years. So during that time, my parents were together. So I was looking at, oh, this is kind of neat. This looks like me too. So, so that was really important. That was on my television.
Yeah, yeah, great. And you know, I'm starting to notice a pattern in all of these. You know, it brings back, you know, we get this nostalgia, right? But also the relationships, the dynamic of the characters, their positive role models. I hear people saying, you know, their interactions with one another, they're accepting, but also you see a family unit, diversity. So great. Thanks for that. Phyllis, do you have something?
Yes, I do. Mine was Leave It to Beaver, and the fact that they came home, the mother cooked, and I kind of related to it because my mother didn't work. And my dad, we always had dinner every day at the same time at 5 o'clock. So we knew when he came home, we were eating. We sat around the table and ate. And I remember most of my classmates kind of resented the fact that I had to go in the house at that time to eat because they could eat whenever they wanted to and their parents weren't sitting down. So that was one of the things for me. Okay, great. Yeah, I used to love that show, Leave It to Beaver. Yeah, wow. I think about some of the shows that I watched that were in black and white and shows that, you know, started airing even before I was born, and shows that were popular, like Happy Days, you know, different shows like this that I really loved and created a sense of nostalgia. And it made me want to, you know, kind of go back to those times, you know, just to experience them. You know, I wanted to be in Beaver's neighborhood. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay. All right, anyone else? We have time for maybe one more person.
When I was growing up, I'm quite young. I'm only 23, but when I was growing up, I used to watch That's So Raven. And then when I got older, we had Hannah Montana. And so I think those friendships in both of those shows, I really admired and really enjoyed watching them. And they would get in fights, but then they would, you know, get back together, and they always supported each other. So I always thought that was really great.
Great, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, you know, I'm a little older than 23 myself, but yes, I love That's So Raven. I had an opportunity with a previous job of mine to visit the set of That's So Raven. That was really cool to meet Raven Simone and the cast.
Wow,
And
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, and like you said, I just love the way, they didn't always agree on everything, but at the end of the day, they realized, you know what, our petty arguments, our petty disagreements is not worth our friendship. There were times that they had ups and downs, highs and lows, but yet they were able to see the big picture, and that friendship is forever. So yeah, I love those types of shows too. Yeah. So someone else mentioned All in the Family. Yeah, and someone said Raven is great. She's comfortable at being true to herself. Yes, definitely. So thank you all for sharing that. So we'll go back to the presentation. So that's always fun. I like to kick things off with that activity because it's something that we can all relate to, right? So yeah, that's a lot of fun. Okay, there we go. So for me, my favorite show growing up was definitely Punky Brewster. Okay, so I'm sure some of you may recall that show. I loved Punky and Cherry. They had a great relationship, and I just remember, the diversity on the show, and both of these girls were being raised by older people, right? Cherry, I believe it was her grandmother who was raising her, and Punky was this feisty kid who just lit up the room, right? And I just love their friendship and how they confided in one another, right? So some of these themes in these shows, the friendship, the camaraderie, the sisterhood, right? And I believe that that's what's missing in some of the programming these days, although there are a few shows, but a lot has changed over the years. Right around the 2000s, some things have changed, right? Some things had changed right around the turn of the century. And we all know what that is, right? You could take a guess. You can kind of guess where I'm going here, right? Yes, we're going to flash forward to reality. And I definitely put reality in quotes, right? Because some people realize that reality can be scripted, but for many of our girls, especially those who are developing, they're trying to figure out their place in life. They're trying to figure out their friendship dynamics. So they're looking at popular media for examples. And as we know, reality TV can sometimes be a toxic environment, especially for our youth. In fact, even for some adults, I'm not going to lie. I do have some guilty pleasures here and there. I am a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, right? So I'm not going to pretend that I never engage or never watch reality television, because I do. And this is a judgment-free zone, everyone. So it's perfectly okay. But I just want us to look at the context of how popular media is really impacting our girls and young women, and not just our girls and young women, right? Our boys are influenced by a lot of what they see on television as well. But we definitely have some opportunities to definitely have an impact in their lives and show them a little bit of actuality, okay? Because reality television seems to have dominated the 2000s. So Generation Z kind of grew up on reality TV. I remember in college, I watched The Real World, right? Many of you may remember MTV's The Real World, or other shows that kind of kicked off this reality TV binge, right? Then you had shows like Big Brother and other subsequent reality shows. And who, of course, can forget our bad girls? So the Bad Girls Club, right? In my opinion, the Bad Girls Club and other shows like the Real Housewives franchise, right? From LA to New Jersey, They're housewives, desperate housewives, if you will, right? It kind of glamorized bad behavior. And it's interesting that when Wikipedia describes the Bad Girls Club, this description literally is altercations and physical confrontations of aggressive, quarrelsome, and unruly women. Wow. Imagine if that's your friendship circle, right? I'll be talking about the importance of having a good vibe tribe, but imagine, if you will, having a group of friends who are seemingly your friends, right? But having people who are supposed to have your back, who are supposed to be like some of our fun characters of old times, right? Who are supposed to be accepting and who are supposed to value friendship and sisterhood. But imagine just having ambivalent friends, right? Who sometimes will pretend that they have our backs, but actually leave us hanging, okay? And with these images of women on these shows continuously portrays is how, women sometimes don't trust one another. And my work with Empowered Flower Girl, many of our workshops focus on building sisterhood and communication, as well as conflict resolution skills. And one of the things that we hear very often amongst girls and young women is that, they can't trust other females, or that girls are catty, right? They're petty, they're catty, you can't trust them. So who can blame girls when they have seen images of women fighting, adult women who they're looking up to, who are portrayed as glamorous, right? They're glamorous, they're rich, they're successful, and they see these images of women. And sometimes for many of them, they take it as reality. So we have to really think about the images that girls are seeing, right? And try to ask questions and counter some of those things that they're seeing. So we'll talk a little bit more about positive role modeling. Even if we do occasionally engage or have, as I say, a guilty pleasure of watching reality TV, but how to separate that and how to help girls distinguish between friends and frenemies. There was some research done back in, I believe it was 2007. There was research for Brigham Young University in Utah. Back in 2007, one of the researchers there did a whole study on frenemies, right? And she found that frenemies or ambivalent friends can negatively impact your health. Okay, so it's not just binge watching reality shows can make you lazy or maybe make you a little more hostile, right? But literally, you can have elevated blood pressure. Anyone else kind of experience when they're watching reality TV, right? You may experience a little bit of uneasiness, right? You might actually have a physiological response, right? I know I have, just watching it. So what about if you actually have these people in your circle? What if your friends are instead frenemies? That can lead to stress as well as depression. And for me, I want those who are in my circle to be supportive, right? To be supportive and to have my back. But oftentimes, reality TV glamorizes women who are disconnected, who don't value friendships, right? But that just isn't reality, right? Reality TV has transformed not only the way we consume media, but also sometimes how we perceive friendships. And so again, put yourself in the mind of an 11 or a 12-year-old girl who's just trying to figure out who she wants to be in life, where she wants to go. She's looking at her social circles and really trying to figure out, who can I turn to? But she sees the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and she realizes that, wow, do women even value friendships? Is that a thing, right? But we want our girls to know that it is a thing, right? Our girls have challenges, but they also have opportunities. And for many of us who work in the education space, as well as parents, who many parents are homeschooling right now, and they're witnessing the impacts of this pandemic that it's had on our children's mental health. Girls, even more than boys, are experiencing higher rates of anxiety and depression, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay. Another challenge that girls often face is conflict at home, domestic issues, even domestic violence, which again has seen an increase during the pandemic. And oftentimes, many of our girls, not just here in the United States, but around the world, may lack resources, such as access to quality education, and for those in urban and rural areas, lack of transportation to after-school programs that could ultimately uplift and empower them, right? But one of the challenges that I want us to explore a little more is the bullying, cyberbullying, and relational aggression. Because I believe that we do, of course, have challenges in these areas for our girls, but there are opportunities for us to help them. But cyberbullying continues to be a huge challenge. Okay, it's such a huge challenge that Texas AFT has invited me to come back in March, where I will be facilitating a workshop. So I forgot the date, it may be March 31st, but I will be facilitating social secrets, what educators and parents should know, because there are some dangers that kids are facing online. They're experiencing some challenges online. And we want to make sure that they're safe, smart, and kind online. So I definitely want to be a resource to you to help you navigate some of the areas of social media that you may not be familiar with. We're going to go into a little more detail about social media apps and various programs, even online gaming, where children are finding themselves in some precarious situations that we want to make sure that we help prevent, right? So we'll go into a little more discussion on the actual social sites and how to keep them safe, smart, and kind online. But today I do want to take a chance to briefly discuss cyberbullying and online abuse. So I just want to make sure, does anyone have any questions so far about what we reviewed? Okay. If not, I'll continue on. But again, if you do have questions, it's a little difficult for me to see the chat. So Hannah, if there are any questions that are in the chat, don't hesitate. You can interrupt me at any time if anyone has questions. But I definitely want us to take some time to talk about what's happening there. So an organization that I've had a chance to research and to also get involved with is Plan International. And if you haven't heard of Plan International, they do have a US affiliate, but what they work to do is advance children's rights, and they're really focused on equality for girls. They released a report last year. It's called the State of the World's Girls Report, and you could find that on their website at planusa.org. But that report, it shows how girls are being targeted online, okay? Specifically those who identify as female. They did a survey of girls around the world, and it didn't matter if they were from the US, it didn't matter if they were from the UK. Girls from countries in Africa, India responded all over the world. And they all shared, unfortunately, some negative experiences that they've had online. Additionally, this report found that also young women who identified as politically outspoken, those who are disabled, Black, or those who identify as LGBTQ plus, they had it even harder, right? Hate speech, hate crimes definitely increased over the past few years. And so you can imagine that with our children being even more active online during the pandemic, how instances of online abuse have increased. Okay, and that's very unfortunate. And there are opportunities for us to help support them. So I don't want it to all seem like it's gloom and doom, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that it is a challenge for our young people. So I have a pop quiz here, okay? So I want to know, what percentage of girls do you think have experienced online abuse? And in particular, when we talk about online abuse, well, we're talking about threatening messages, sexual harassment, and the sharing of private images without consent. Okay, so I'm just curious to find out. Okay, someone said 80%. Okay, so do you think it's A, 36%, B, 45%, or C, 52%? Okay, so I got some C's. So you could type in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, you can shout it out. Okay, we got a B, getting a lot of C's. Yeah, someone said 52, possibly higher. Okay. All right. Okay, so B or C. Okay. Okay, got a few more C's. Okay, so mostly C's. All right. All right. Was someone, oh. Uh-oh, someone, if you have some background noise, just go ahead and mute yourself, because the screen actually will move over to you. All right, so there we go. All right, so majority of you said 52%, okay? So if you said 52%, you are correct. The answer is 52%. And what's disturbing is that a lot of what is really concerning for young people is that their private information, from images and to videos, yeah, that's being shared without their consent. There's this underworld of, they call it the dark web, but also outside of the dark web, right? Many young people get exposed to inappropriate content through online gaming, through inappropriate as well as racist content. And our girls in particular have been victims of sextortion, right? So there are some girls who maybe, share intimate photos with their partners, right? Or even occasionally a friend, right? They share photos of themselves, or I guess share with those who they think are their friends or their partners. And unfortunately, in many cases, those images or even videos have been shared without their consent, their permission, without their knowledge. and that information is passed along to others. And there are some people online who even pose as other teen girls. They befriend girls, and they pose as teens, and they use that information to extort additional information or even more images or possibly money from girls. And they threaten to share these images online. They threaten to reach out to the girl's parents. So there has been an increase in reports of this. So that is part of the online abuse that some girls are experiencing. It's insidious, and it is an issue. And many people don't realize that this is happening. Unfortunately, girls have experienced this. I remember there was a case some years ago, and some people may recall a young woman. I'm trying to think of her last name. It's not coming to me right now. I think it was Amanda Todd. I'm not sure if any of you remember her story. She was a Canadian student who became the victim of a worldwide sextortion plot. Okay, this young lady unfortunately took her life. Okay, she took her life back in 2012. She was one of the young women who actually inspired me to do the Chica Chat workshop, because I didn't want another girl to have to experience what Amanda did. I'm not going to share her story right now, but if you haven't heard her story, if you look it up, it's very tragic, and it gained global media attention, but also it also caused many parenting groups and education groups to look at how are we educating our children about online dangers. And I hope that girls are free from this sort of exposure online. I hope that they're free from this sort of abuse. We want our girls to thrive. We want them to use social media for good. You know, I'm definitely an advocate for using social media to make a powerful difference. And I believe that young people can do that as long as they're educated and know the dangers and can openly talk to us as their parents, as their teachers, as their mentors and counselors. But what Plan International has done, they recently started a campaign. It's called Free to Be Online. And it is a campaign that actually was inspired by the girls who were part of their survey and their leadership or focus group. The girls, what they've decided is that they want to get these social media creators, the social media app and platform creators, to create stronger reporting mechanisms for violence. You know, they want perpetrators of online abuse, cyberbullying, sextortion. They want them to be held accountable. And I'm with them. You know, I decided to take a stand with those girls because I have also, I've been bullied online. You know, it's not just children that are bullied. Many adults have been harassed and cyberbullied, right? It's not just young people that are sharing inappropriate content. Some of them are actually learning from the adults in their lives and adults behaving badly in the media, right? So I decided to stand with girls so that they're free to be online. And if you want more information about it, I have the website here, plan-international.org. They have a letter that you can sign in support of girls. So I want, you know, everyone to have an opportunity to check that out and learn more about what girls are asking of us. They want our help. They need our help, and I think that they definitely deserve our support. So there are a few things that developing girls need, right? This isn't an all-inclusive list, but these are things that I think we should definitely consider. Girls need mentors, right? They need positive role models in their lives, because again, at this age and stage, our tween and teen girls, many of them are looking for help. They may not outright ask it. If any of you are parents, you know, sometimes they won't come to you. Sometimes you have to pry a little bit. Sometimes you have to ask the same question 3 or 4 different ways, right, to actually get an answer. But they need and they actually want mentors and supporters, right? We should be our girls' biggest cheerleaders and have their backs. They need allies, both men and women as allies. There are many men who are raising their daughters as well. There are single dads raising daughters. So we also need male allies in addition to female allies. And what's great is there are girl-focused and girl-powered programs out there that can definitely make a difference for them. There's after-school programs, in-school programs that are definitely helping. There are a number of organizations in our communities that are giving back and helping girls to empower them to live strong and healthy lives. Some of those organizations you all may be familiar with. I've worked with some of these organizations. Of course, we all know the Girl Scouts of the USA. They also produce a report ever so often, the State of Girls report they produce as well. And in fact, they were one of the organizations that partnered with Plan International to create the State of the World's Girls report, right? So the Girl Scouts also produces one here within the United States, right? So the Girl Scouts has been an organization, but also organizations like Girls on the Run. They do a lot of good work with girls in our community. And I heard of an organization there in Texas, in fact, Austin, the Young Women's Alliance of Austin, that is doing work to empower girls and young women and to encourage leadership skills among them. You know, there are a number of women's organizations, sororities. I know someone mentioned earlier that she was a part of a sorority, right? There are a number of sororities that also have youth programs where they're focused on service and service learning for girls to give them opportunities to give back and engage with one another, but also to develop 21st century skills. One of Empowered Flower Girls, girl-focused and girl-powered programs that I love is our signature program, the Chica Chat program. And we help girls to be self-expressed, heard, and understood in an environment that is safe and supportive. You know, we want them to express themselves and to, we want to give them opportunities to let it all out. We give them a safe space to share what's happening in their lives, challenges that they may be facing at home, at school, or even in their community, things that may be adversely impacting them, but also we give them an opportunity to support one another and offer advice, sort of peer mentoring, if you will. The Chica Chat program we've been doing for the past 9 years. And what I've learned in over a decade of working with girls in general is that they want positive and cordial relationships, but many of them just don't know how to break the ice, right? Oftentimes we hurt one another. We cyberbully, we bully, we ostracize one another because we don't truly know one another. And I find that once girls really get to know one another on a deeper level, that they're less likely to be engaged in activities like cyberbullying, right? And mean girl behavior, right? I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with that term, mean girl behavior. And sometimes it's not that the girls are mean. Sometimes they may be facing issues and challenges in their homes. Maybe they are experiencing mental health breakdowns, which we find oftentimes is the case. Or as my nieces and I, when my nieces were teen girls, we would always check in with one another, and I would ask, okay, if one of my nieces was giving attitude or was, going off on her sister, I said, okay, you're having a low self-esteem day? Let's talk about it, right? Because we all have those days where we're not feeling sure of ourselves, or maybe feeling down or less than. As an adult woman, I even have days where there's some imposter syndrome going on, right? I don't know if anyone else has felt that way, but our girls feel that too. So sometimes they're not just a mean girl or a disruptive girl, they're hurt girls. And that's what we work to uncover in Chica Chat. And often we find that, yes, they're hurt, they're hurting. And this is the only way that they know how at this stage in their lives. The only way they know how to deal with it is to be disruptive or to cuss someone out or to fight. But we can change that. So I definitely want us to know that hope is not lost. Our girls are definitely not alone, and we're not alone either. Okay, so before we get into our next discussion, I just want to offer a few tips for us to be the change for 21st century girls. Okay, so I think it's important that we start close to home, right? To reach out to the girls and women in our lives, whether it's relatives or even friends that we may not have spoken with in a while. Maybe some of us may have friends in our lives that maybe we lost touch with. Maybe there's a little bit of uneasiness going on, right? I mean, how many of us have had friendships that ended? I know I have. I've had friends that, we once were close, but because of life, right? Life happens, we get busy, maybe we lost touch. But it's always great when we can reconnect with them. And that gives us a boost, right? I know it feels good for me when I reach out and connect with someone who I care about, who I may not have spoken with in a while. And with so much that's going on and in all of our lives right now with this pandemic, I think it wouldn't hurt to reach out to those we care about. So that's one way we can be the change for girls, but also to support organizations like some of those that I mentioned earlier, those organizations that are working to uplift and empower girls and young women. The third is something that I recommend to everyone, that we all be the change, to be the change that we wish to see among the girls in our lives. If there are some behaviors that we need to check, well, sometimes there are. Sometimes there are some behaviors that we need to check as well about ourselves. Maybe some things that we may engage in online. I know there's sometimes I have to think before I tweet, right? Anyone else experience that where you have to, you want to write an email to someone or you're going to make a post online and you're like, nope. Okay, I got to go back. I'm going to erase that. I'm going to give it 5 or 10 seconds to think about this. Who's going to see this, right? Yeah, so we have to be the change. And I always recommend women to find a good vibe tribe of their own. Surround yourselves with other women who have similar goals or those who may be where you want to go. There's career aspirations and goals that I have in my life. And, you know, I haven't made it quite yet to where I want to be. There's still some things that I want to get done. And there's some women who have done those things. Those are the type of women that I want in my circle. But I also want good vibes, you know, good energy, not negativity and drama, right? And for those of you who have it in your heart, I know someone mentioned earlier, you know, that you're interested in launching a mentoring program, perhaps for girls. That is awesome. There's so much support out there for you for that. Next week, in fact, Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership, they're hosting their annual mentoring summit. I'll be attending that, and people from all over the country will be attending those workshops, but they give you great resources if you are interested in launching a mentoring program, right? And one of the things that we do at Empowered Flower Girl, we like to recognize girls who are doing good and making a difference, because we want to encourage them to help one another, to give back to their communities and be the impact in their communities. So we have a column in our newsletter, and we also share on our social media pages, because we want to flood the internet with goodness, right? With positivity, right? So we're always looking to feature girls and young women from ages 5 to 25 who are making a difference, who are teenpreneurs or emerging leaders, you know, those who are empowering others, using their gifts to empower each other. So I will be sharing my contact information at the end. If you know of any girls or young women who fit this category, we love to feature them. We love to recognize and support girls who are doing good. Okay, so those are other ways that we can be the change and support and empower 21st century girls. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick stop here of the screen share, because I definitely want to check out the chat here if you all have been engaging here in the chat. Okay, so good. I'm glad that Charlene has shared. Someone had asked about the Young Women's Alliance, and glad to hear that you all have also heard about good things about that program. Yes, and thank you. Someone shared about the Social Dilemma on Netflix. I still have yet to see that, but I hear that it is a must-see. We need to watch that. So great. Thank you all for engaging there in the chat. I want us to also be a good vibe tribe for each other here, right? So if you're looking for other women to be in your circle, I think that you have potential here in this group, who's participating in this workshop today, right? You've heard from many of the women here who are doing great things and who have hearts of gold, who want to empower our girls. So I think that, hey, we have enough people here today to start putting together a good vibe tribe. All right, so this leads us to our discussion, right? So, you know, we share some of the issues and challenges that are facing our girls, right? We're very familiar with them. We've experienced some of them as well, right? But we also want to talk about what's working. I would love to hear from you about what's working in your community or school district, or maybe if there's a program or something that you've heard about that you think, oh, this would be a great idea for our school or, you know, our community organization, house of worship to implement. So I would like to take some time to discuss that. I want to hear about some of those things that are actually working, that are going well for you. So again, you can share that. You can share that here, or you could share it in the chat. I would definitely love to hear from some of you who are on right now. So the question is, what's working in your school district, or even your community? And if it's not already out there and working, if you have an idea or something that you would like to see. I am taking notes. So who wants to share about a program or an initiative that is working in their school, or one that they see can potentially make an impact?
I wouldn't, well, it's hard for me because I'm outside of the classroom, but I just know that we take some, well, just in what I do, mediation and restorative practices. They call it restorative discipline, but for me, very rarely do I end up with discipline after the restorative process. You know, it's as restorative relationships would probably be a better name for it. But for me as an administrator, it has worked wonders. I mean, I find out that they've got anger going back to middle school, and I'm in high school and they're in like 11th grade. And it usually stems from something that they haven't gotten over. So for me, the best thing right now has been restorative, anything restorative practices, restorative discipline, restorative.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's something that the International Bullying Prevention Association, one of the things that they recommend as well. Who
Hello,
else?
everyone. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Chris Williams. I got this link from Dr. Claudia Morales from the Houston Federation of Teachers. I teach in HISD, 11th grade, so high schoolers. And one of the things that you were talking about earlier that I thought has been very effective for me in the classroom is, you know, oftentimes when adults talk to kids about issues that they think are relevant to kids, oftentimes kids kind of turn off because they think you're an adult, you're out of touch, you don't really know how things are. So when you were talking about the fact that even as adults, we struggle with healthy relationships with social media, or we struggle with as adults with cyberbullying and other issues like that. And I think when you frame it that way for students, when you talk about how it's not something necessarily teen specific, but it's just something that anyone who's using or navigating social media struggles with, whether they're adults or not. If you can relate your own stories and issues on how you've learned to have a healthy relationship with social media, I think younger people might be more apt to hear you out and to say, hey, you know what? Like, this is something that we can relate to because this teacher has just shared a story about how they were struggling with maintaining a healthy relationship with social media, as opposed to, I'm gonna, as the adult, tell you kids who aren't really capable, you know, what you should be doing. I think sometimes, you know, that it comes off a little bit like, you know, the kids think again, like, oh, you're out of touch, you don't really know. And it's also helpful as a teacher if you have made yourself a little bit aware of what some of those apps are, and you're well versed in talking about TikTok or Snapchat or things that the students know, as opposed to like Facebook, which seems to be, you know, something that younger and younger kids seem to be gravitating away from more, I find. But a lot of the negative things that you were talking about earlier seem to have gravitated to other social media platforms outside of Facebook. So it's just one approach that I've had with my own students in terms of trying to build a connection there and help them see the universality of some of the challenges we face across age groups.
Yeah, and you know what? Thank you for sharing that, Chris, because we definitely need some intergenerational empathy and understanding, right? So I definitely think that leads to that sort of dialogue, right? And I think that anytime that we can be authentic and really share and get real, okay, and get real with young people, they don't need adults to come across as, oh, well, I'm here to teach you and you are going to listen. And, you know, they don't want us to be robotic. They want us to be real, right? They want to know our struggles too, because sometimes they look at us and see like, oh man, you know, they don't understand, as you're saying, yeah, I can't relate to them. They can't relate to me. They got it all figured out. But sometimes we don't even know. We can learn from them, right? We can learn a lot from them. You know, reverse mentoring also is a thing that actually works. So I like that. We should continue to do that. So I see here that someone mentioned that, okay, yeah, so Hannah said that she's a college student and there's lots of college women who can mentor girls and foster meaningful relationships, for sure. Yes, so, the closer in age range, college students mentoring high school and middle school students, or high school students mentoring middle school students, and vice versa. Peer mentoring is also a great. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else have something that's working in their school or in their community or with an organization that they may be involved with outside of school? Okay. Oh, well, thank you to those who did share. Definitely appreciate that. So I do want to take an opportunity to just really acknowledge you all and what you're doing, because I think that there is so much potential with all of these ideas that have been shared, and with people having experiences. We may work in different school districts, but some of the experiences, no matter where we're from or where we're at, right, the experiences are the same. Some of the challenges are the same, but there's going to be different opportunities that are available. So I wanted to also share with you an exciting opportunity that I have for you all today. So for those of you, who want to learn ways of being, I did mention that, there's a certain way of being that I think we need to embody when we're working with girls and young women, youth in general. But Chris alluded to that, that we need to be authentic, right? We need to be real with them, share our experiences. So there are a number of ways of being that young people react to, as you may know as educators, but I think we can do a better job in tapping into that, being vulnerable. I know some people like to shy away from vulnerability, but sometimes that helps in your relationships with youth. And we recently launched a program back in July, in the summer of 2020. We launched our Girl World Peace Academy. And that has been, I would say, a program that I've really had an opportunity to connect with those who have existing organizations, but also those who are considering starting an organization or some sort of initiative or program within their schools. I was inspired to launch the program after receiving some emails from teachers, and in particular, a counselor in New Mexico reached out to me, and she said, she literally said, our girls are out of control. I don't know if anyone has ever experienced that, and they felt like in their class or in the school that the girls have gone wild, right? For those of you who may have seen Mean Girls, I love that movie. I'm always a fan of Mean Girls. What's today? I think today is Wednesday. Do we wear pink on Wednesday? Okay, anyway, Mean Girls reference. But when she said that the girls were out of control and that they've gone wild, I could so relate to that, and some things that I've seen when I've gone into, I went into a detention facility to host a Chica Chat workshop. And that's what I kind of felt when we went on lockdown. So I've been there, I've experienced that, and I could just feel her pain, right? And she lived in a remote area in New Mexico, about 75 miles outside of Albuquerque. And she said, it is great that many of the bigger cities have programs like Girls on the Run and Girl Scouts, but there's not a lot that we have here. We don't have access to a lot of those programs and opportunities. And if so, we have to have a huge budget to send someone out to facilitate this for us. Do you have an online program or something that can get us started, to give us some tools or some coaching in that? And at the time when I spoke with her, it was something that I was developing, but nothing that I had launched. And that conversation with her just really drove me to launch Girl World Peace Academy. Okay, because I know in my heart that peace is possible, and that if girls are empowered to make it happen, it can happen. So we launched Girl World Peace Academy over the summer for educators, counselors, after school professionals, and other youth advocates who want a more authentic connection with the young people in their lives, but those who also want to know some tips, tools, and strategies to engage girls and connect with them, so that girls are more accepting of one another and themselves. New ways of being that cause girls to want to reach out to one another and to uplift each other, right? So we created Girl World Peace Academy, and it's just been great. I've really enjoyed working with the organizations and individuals through the virtual course. And, we give one-on-one coaching and video lessons that you can do at your own pace. So I've really enjoyed working with people who are so excited to share of themselves, who, they don't have, $10,000 to bring in people to conduct assemblies, every other week, right? They want to know how they can do this for themselves. And I want to be able to help as many people as I can. So I have a passion for working with youth advocates. And a lot of our programming has shifted to that, to empower those who want to have a positive impact for our girls. So I'll share this information with everyone, and I can also share it in the chat. But, as my gift to you, just for being on today, this is something that we haven't offered to others, but it's special because I know that many of you do have it in your hearts to make a difference. So I want to be able to give you that support. So I do have a partnership page for Girl World Peace Academy. So you all get $150 off. I've never offered this much off registration for the course, but I just want to make that available to you if you are interested in Girl World Peace Academy, or if you know someone who could benefit from it. All right. So before we take some additional time for questions, I also want to make sure that we keep in touch. Okay, so for those of you who have additional questions, who want to reach out, maybe there's something that you want to speak about offline, I'm definitely here for you. So my email address is here. You can reach out to me there, but also I offer free consultations. If you wanted to talk more about, some ideas that you have, if you want to bounce off some ideas, have resources that I can share with you. As someone who is a mentoring consultant, I do know some best practice programs that may be of use to you or your school, and you can schedule a free private consultation with me. You can go to my calendar there. I have it here. And of course, connect with Empowered Flower Girl on social media. We're on Twitter at EFG Empowered, and we're also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook at Empowered Flower Girl. Okay, and you can also visit our website, empoweredflowergirl.com, for more information and programs. And again, I mentioned that we love to celebrate girls and young women who are making a difference in their communities. So if you know of an outstanding girl or young woman between ages of 5 and 25 who you think we should feature, I would love to connect with you about that. So if you know someone who meets that, even if it's your own child or a young relative, hey, we want to hear about them making a difference. So you can reach out to me with any submissions for She's Empowered. We would love that. Okay. So now I want to take the time. There are a few questions that I have of you all, but I definitely want to take the time. If you have questions that we address those, any questions that you may have about what was shared, but also if there are some, questions that you had about, working with girls or even mentoring, I am definitely here to help you and here to learn from you as well. So if there's anyone who maybe didn't get a chance to share earlier about what's working in your school or community, this is a great time to do that. So I just want to make sure that you have an opportunity to do that. Yes, someone said in the chat, it takes a village. It definitely does. It takes all of us, parents, teachers, relatives, all of us who are youth advocates and care about children. So yes, you have a question?
Oh no, I was going to share. Hi.
Oh yeah, you're great. Yay.
Yeah. So I live in Florida, and I've been an educator for over 20 years, and I'm professional development director in Florida. But I have a mentoring group. It's called Sisters Build Network for Girls Incorporated. And I've had that mentoring group for a few years because as a guidance counselor, when I was a guidance counselor in the past, I saw that dire need, right, for the young girls who, sometimes I think struggling or challenged, but they were just girls, right? And so in the midst of being a girl in today's time and in schools, there's that level of difficulty in having conversations, whether it's with parents or, those who was raising them at the time. And so I decided to start a mentoring group. Well, now I noticed through the pandemic that need for, even more so, for consistency. Because that's what a student told me. I used to do this radio program and I was interviewing young girls and, I said, well, what is it that you need from a mentor? And over again, the word, oh, and I see your pearls. Sorry, I got sidetracked. So the word, so the word consistency. And, so I decided even through the pandemic, although we couldn't meet face to face, but having that virtual opportunity, of course, they're still wanting to get out there and meet and connect. And so what we've moved into is like a Be the Change campaign where, we want them to get actively involved in their community by doing something for someone else versus receiving, right? Because when you're in a mentoring group or you're a student at school, you often receive, get. And so we're trying to look, so right now we're working with a domestic violence shelter to give, right? And so just finding some outlets where the kids can further connect and kind of move forward from that in the midst of a pandemic. So I want to say to you, thank you for like all the offerings and the different things that you were sharing, because now more than ever, I feel like those who support others, of course, need support. And so that's so important, right? And so having that opportunity to have that type of support is important as well, because it gets hard. When I presented the donating for the domestic shelter, a parent messaged me and said, did you know there were students that had been in your group that had lived in domestic violence shelters, right? And so you never know what you're doing and for who. So all of you that are on the line, like, thank you for that. And then thank you also, Ms. Williams, for just providing that support for those who support.
Great. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate that. That's, so timely, right? Just Monday was MLK Day, and Youth Service America, they look at MLK Day as not a day off, but a day on, and encourage young people to get out there and give back. And so many young people were involved in activities on MLK Day. So say that and have the young people involved in service and service learning is great. We hosted 2 weeks ago, Be the Impact service learning training. We partner with the Michigan Service Squad and Youth Service America to conduct a training for young people to help them become more strategic about their service. That is a wonderful idea. And I think that you are definitely on to something. This generation, Generation Z, they are all about giving back. they love to be of service to others, and they're tackling issues, even though they're young, and it's for the adults to really, tackle all these issues. We can't burden them with all these issues, but they're like, nope, I'm part of the solution. They're tackling everything from the environment to domestic abuse to justice. So shout out to Generation Z. I absolutely love them. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you, Jamie Womack, for inviting me. Sorry. Do that shot.
Okay, so anyone else who didn't get to share what's working, or also if you are out there and you have any questions on anything that I mentioned, or questions in general about mentoring girls and inspiring sisterhood. No, no one? Okay. All right, everyone. So I just want to make sure that there's a few resources that I did mention, and I do want to put it in the chat so that everyone has it. For those of you who mentioned starting a mentoring organization, or you're looking for resources in your community for mentoring, the organization that I mentioned was Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership. And their website is mentoring.org. It's definitely one that I recommend visiting. They have a lot of evidence-based practices and programs, as well as research that can help you if you're looking to launch a formal program. Of course, there's opportunities for informal mentoring, right? There's one-on-one mentoring, there's in-school mentoring programs. But if you were looking to launch maybe a more formal mentoring program, even if it's a peer mentoring program, they have national mentoring standards or practices that they do offer training in. They have a program that you can actually go through and receive training to get your mentoring program to meet those quality standards. So I think that would be great. Oh, and Jamie mentioned that she's going to put the links and resources in the email. Great. All right. So you all going to be getting your certificates in the coming days. Woohoo. So that's exciting. But yeah, so there's a number of different resources that are out there, funding opportunities, because I know I mentioned, right, these programs and launching, we have these aspirations, we want to launch these programs, right? But it does take money to get them started and get them off the ground. But there are a number of resources for you to receive support, even if you haven't started off as a nonprofit. Right. So if you're just starting out, you're like, okay, I don't have a 501c3. I'll never get funding. I'll never get support. But there are resources, and more organizations are starting to recognize social entrepreneurs and fund their projects. So again, if you want to go offline and have any other questions, don't hesitate. I know we're ending a little bit early here, but I always like to make sure that I give people the opportunity to ask questions and to connect. So, okay, Maureen says, very, very important topic tonight. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much as well. I definitely appreciate you all and the work that you're doing as educators during this time, and even before the pandemic. We recognize that educators are essential. You are frontline workers, and we want to definitely acknowledge the sacrifices that you've made, even with your own families throughout this, and just know that you have support, and that you have a community here that wants you to succeed, and I truly, truly appreciate you. So yes, thank you. Thank you. Yay. People are inspired, I see. Great, glad to hear. There's anything else, just one last opportunity. Otherwise we'll be able to go and enjoy the rest of our evening, get caught up on any inauguration coverage, or just relax and get all of this news out of our heads. So Jamie.
Rashida, yes, thank you so much for tonight's session. I think it's was a very important session for all of us to hear. So thank you again. And you all remember, she will be back on March the 31st to do Social Secrets, which is appropriate for educators, parents, grandparents, anyone, as you're navigating the social media world with your children, because as most of us here, this is not something we had when we grew up. And so it's really something we have to pay attention to as parents and grandparents and mentors and educators. So please join us then. Next week, we are doing a Google Applied Digital Skills, which is appropriate for anyone that teaches 5th grade or higher. Google, throughout the pandemic, has created this whole entire resource that's free for educators to use, that is full of lesson plans. So as you have kids and students that are doing digital and face-to-face, and you're struggling with that, you can just dump their stuff over there into your Google Classroom, and the kids take it from there. So it's already kind of a prepackaged thing. So some of the facilitators are going to walk us through how to do all of that and what resources are there for them. Hannah and I will be emailing you a certificate along with all of the resources that Rashida shared with us this afternoon. And if you have any questions, please respond. Be sure to like Empowered Flower Girl on the social media platforms, along with Bridges Institute for Professional Development, where I post upcoming events that we're going to be having. So other than that, thank you all for joining us this evening, and have a great week. And love all the pearls.
Yes.
Loving all the pearls.
Yes, ladies. Yes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Sisterhood. Thank you. You have a good evening.
You too. Take care.